in this video, how do we figure out aerial perspective when we have a complex drawing that has multiple flowers, multiple leaves, or it might have a series of other kinds of botanical specimens that work as a group together. First of all, you need to have a good drawing of the entire composite piece. It is from here now that you start to decide how you are going to use aerial perspective in order to create depth in the rendering, whether it's watercolor or colored pencil or graphite, and how you are going to create depth in some sort of a logical fashion. The first thing you need is 3 colored pencils or 3 different weights of graphite pencil. I'm going to use these 3 colors, the green, blue, and red. I'll use the red for my close-up foreground. I'm going to use the blue for my middle ground, and I'll use the green for the area that will be farthest away. Now, obviously, when you have a drawing such as this, or anything botanical, it's rare that you have a great deal of depth of field. By depth of field, I mean the amount of space between front and back subjects. But I think we can pretty much analyze this to figure out a way to get some interesting depth in the drawing. So the first thing I'm going to do is decide which parts of this drawing are going to be my frontmost parts. And then the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to make this flower here, this leaf here, this flower here, and this leaf here are going to be my foreground parts to the drawing. So using a very sharp pencil, I am going to basically outline this drawing for all of those front sections. And they will go onto my first layer of tracing paper. Now, I haven't put all the details in. I put just the most important details in, like midribs and overlapping shapes. But I'm leaving out some of this little detail stuff. I'm leaving out some of the veination because you're going to have to work with your original drawing in order to do the transfers. This is strictly for you to understand how your painting is going to come together. So once I've got this done, I'm going to go to the next layer and I'm going to place another sheet of tracing paper on this base drawing. And now I have to decide what is going to be my middle tone layer for the final painting. So I'm going to use blue for that. And I'm going to make this flower, these leaves here, here, and here are going to be my next layer of value. This leaf here, which right now is overlapping in front, and the stem can be on the last layer. So for this layer now, I'm going to start to place my middle tone group of leaves. And actually, I think I'm going to make this leaf red and put it on the top layer So I will go back and make that change. As I'm looking at this and thinking that I would like to create a better visual balance. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this leaf here, and I'm going to do this flower. And then we'll do the final part on the last layer. So now we're ready to do the final layer. The final layer will have this flower in the background. There's a leaf here that comes in from behind this other flower stem, so that will be also in the background. And there is a leaf here that comes in behind this flower that will also be part of the background. And finally, a leaf here that will be part of the background. But because this stem overlaps here, I'm going to change the position of that. So I will make this stem here come in front of this other leaf, and I will now do that which is farthest away. So taking my final sheet of tracing paper and placing it over the drawing, I can do the last phase of this atmospheric evaluation for this particular painting, drawing, whichever you want to do. So now I'm just putting in the last set of layers. You see how the green automatically shows you how it is behind this flower. And when you make it lighter, it will automatically give you the depth in relation to that flower. Okay, so we have everything outlined, and so I will now take these 3 pieces of tracing paper off. So starting with our original drawing, what we will do is start with the last layer first and align it carefully. And then we will take our next layer. I only want to tape this to the drawing underneath. I don't want to tape it to the original drawing. I just want to tape it to the bottom layer. And now my final layer, which will be this one, and this final layer now I will tape to the page underneath. And now I can take these 3 layers totally off, but they are all attached to one another right now. And I will move my original out of the way, and we can see what our painting is going to do once we have all of our aerial perspective layers established. So you can see this is going to be in the front, then the next layer, and finally the last layer, which is the greens, will be in the back. So what does this mean? It means that on this first layer, you are going to work a full range of values. from dark to light. And usually that range, if it is in the front layer and depending on the subject matter, will have a range of values probably that are in the upper end of your value scale. The next group will step down a couple of steps, and then the last group will be the lightest. And you might not even go to 40%, you're going to have to see. So the way to go about this is to transfer one layer at a time. So you can start with the top layer, which is your most important layer, and render that almost completely. I would save some of the darks until you've got everything pretty much set up where you think you want it to be. So that's how we are going to proceed. So you'll start with the first layer, do some of the rendering on that first layer. Remember that you can put in all of the detail that you need. So I've placed a sheet of drawing paper down for my final, and now I'm going to position my drawing where I think I want it to be on the page, tape it down, because you will be using this constantly, and I'm just thinking that maybe I should tape it from the side. So tape it down, and this way you can access what you need and start to transfer. I'm going to look at my first layer here, and this is going to tell me what I'm going to transfer first. So I'll have this next to my drawing board, and I will start to transfer these sections.